The Murdaughs have been in the news for a while. If you've been following along, then you know that Alex Murdaugh was recently convicted of killing his wife, Maggie, and their son, Paul. Tragic family event. But there was a whole lot more going on. And now the surviving son, Buster, has released a statement of his own.
Yeah.
If you made it through that trial and was able to follow everything that's going on, then you know that the Murdaugh family had been a legal legacy in South Carolina for a very long time. But along came Alex and the downfall of all of that, literally to the law firm changing their name so that, yeah, they were an entirely different sounding law firm from what everyone knew before. But there are all of these additional charges that are out there, civil cases, money that was taken. There's the death of the housekeeper. And in the background of all of that, there's been this sort of conversation about Stephen Smith, who went to school with Buster Murdaugh. They were, I guess, about the same age. But there's always been conversation, rumor in the background that there was some involvement between the Murdaugh family and Stephen Smith's death. So let me talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to go to Dick Harpootlian's Twitter page where he now has this statement that Buster is releasing. But let me give you just a little bit of background before we go there. So, Stephen Smith was 19 years old. He was a nursing student. He was discovered on a road, sort of in the middle of the road, back in July of 2015. The highway patrol came. There was a very tiny investigation, and they called it a hit and run. But in the background, you know how small towns are. There's always the rumor mill that has a whole nother version of facts. And some of those may be true, and some of those may be, I don't know, wishful thinking. But in this case, this family, Stephen Smith's family, has been hurting for a very long time because they feel like there were just so many questions around what happened. Why would he be in the middle of the road? They said this just did not sound like something he would have done. So, when you're a family and you're not getting the answers that you want, and there are rumors out there, you start to question whether or not there's some sort of justice that exists for some people, and then there's the justice that doesn't even exist for you. At this point in time, his family is now saying, Stephen Smith's family is now saying, we want to have his body exhumed. We want this to have another review analysis. We need to go back and take a look at this. So they are actually raising money to do that. But in the meantime, and I guess in the past time, there's been a lot of conversation about the Murdaugh involvement in Stephen Smith's death in his death. So I want to go over to Dick Harpootlian's Twitter page. And as you know, Dick was one of the attorneys who was representing Buster Murdaugh's father in those charges involving the death of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. But let's bring this up now so that we can take a look at it. You can take a look at it and we can talk about it together. So here we have Dick Harpootlian's Twitter page, and this is the statement. Let's bring this all the way up. Statement from Buster Murdaugh. I have tried my best to ignore the vicious rumors about my involvement in Stephen Smith's tragic death that continue to be published in the media as I grieve over the brutal murders of my mother and brother. I love them so much and miss them terribly. I haven't spoken up until now because I want to live in private while I cope with their deaths and my father's incarceration. Before, during, and since my father's trial, I have been targeted and harassed by the media and followers of this story. This has gone on far too long. These baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false. I unequivocally deny any involvement in his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family. I'm requesting that the media immediately stop publishing these defamatory comments and rumors about me. So there you go. Stop saying that he had anything to do with it. Well, I'm not saying he had anything to do with it. I am talking about the statement that he released and the fact that there had been these rumors that were out there. I never saw anything in what was being published about this that seemed to have any substance to it that he was involved. I just never saw that. It was always there's a rumor mill out there and they're relating these two together. And I think there may have been some concern because of family involvement at the accident scene. That's the only thing that I can remember off the top of my head. It's a small town. Of course, kids of the same age go to school together. People know each other. And as young people, there frequently cliques and who hangs around this person and who doesn't hang around that person. And even at that age, there's a lot of rumor and innuendo about people. But there's been nothing that I have heard in this case, in this rumor, in what's being said, that appears to me that would tie these together. I've heard nothing. He has come out and made a statement, and I think it is a very gracious statement. And he is right. They are suffering. The Smith family is suffering, and he is also suffering, having lost his mother and his brother. I cannot imagine how traumatic that must be for him to feel like he now has to place a statement out there denying these rumors that have been stated, says a lot about where he is and what his needs are, and that it's really hard for him to move on because this is still being pushed. So it sounds like there is a need for some recovery on both families. What Buster Murdaugh is going through with his family and himself now and the place that he is in after everything that's happened. And then also with the Smith family not feeling like they fully understand what happened to Stephen Smith. So it sounds like both of these families are still in a lot of pain here. I don't know, whether we'll at any point in time in the future know all of the answers here. It's really hard. This death with Stephen Smith occurred so many years ago. It may be very hard to try to figure out what exactly happened that night of his death. And I think this is why his family is still feeling in pain, because they don't feel like there have been answers. And if the answers aren't feeling adequate, then you don't feel like there's any justice. You don't feel like the system is fair for you. So I can totally understand them feeling like, hey, we just don't feel like there's something about this that's just not right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like Stephen, and we just want more answers. And I can certainly understand that as a parent myself. But now we've had a chance to hear Buster's statement, and he is ready for people to drop the rumors. I think one of the best ways to sort of go forward with this is to separate the two out. Me and my personal thoughts here, to separate the two out. Buster is asking for his space, give him his space. As the Stephen Smith's case is being evaluated, that case can be evaluated on its own. When people start to look at the actual facts and look at things objectively, those may be the things that need to be spoken about, and not necessarily this continued, well, weren't they friends? Were they not friends? It's high school, it's a small town, you know? Let's move away from necessarily associating the two. But people have framed this and the housekeeper's death, and all of this is being tied to the Murdaugh family. And because Buster and Stephen Smith were in school together, that there is some sort of tie there. I think at this point, that just needs to be evaluated in its own sort of sphere. And if something comes out of that, then investigators will take a look at that. But I think at this point, it's too early. There hasn't been anything definitive that I've seen on the record. And so I think we'll just try to see how this plays out. But that is the statement. If you have any thoughts on this, please let me know in the comments, because, like I said before, I can imagine that this is really tragic for both of these families, with Buster being, the last man standing pretty much. And then on the Smith family side, them still having so many questions about his death. So this is just tragic all the way around for both of these families. And so at this point in time, really, we can just try to send them our love, send them our grace, send them our prayers, and you guys just keep them in your thoughts. And hopefully these things will work out. Not necessarily a big legal analysis. There are some thoughts and a way to wrap that up, but it just sounds like there are a lot of people still in pain here. And we are going to send them our blessings and our grace. So if you're a little bit more informed now, after all of my, I don't know, soapbox talking or something like that, if you're a little bit more informed about Buster Murdaugh's statement and you have some comments that you want to make, go ahead and make those comments, and I'll respond to them. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, a like, because you know how much the YouTube algorithm loves this engagement. And don't forget to subscribe. Mwah. Peace.